Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Now, in today's podcast, wanted to discuss some major news from the Big Four accounting firms from last week about KPMG buying Bitcoin. And this is really one of the first stories we've had about the Big Four accounting firms actually holding Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. In this case, they also added Ether to their balance sheet. And this means they're going to hold some of their assets in cryptocurrencies as opposed to just holding it in cash. And they said that this is just part of the investments that we're making overall as a firm in the crypto asset space, including our services and capabilities. And so what he's saying there is that they already provide services in this space. And I think one of the reasons they're doing this is because they're advising a lot of clients in this area, especially large private equity and hedge funds. And I think it's going to be easier for them to win work if they show that they believe in the space and understand it, that their corporate treasury is allocated assets to here. And they've even been interviewed on this topic, as you'd expect, because they're a major accounting firm, and them buying Bitcoin just gives it more of a it gives it more weight, more meaning, and especially now because Bitcoin is extremely volatile again, as it was just about a year ago where it went down a bunch. I mean, all assets worldwide are basically going down at this point because of fear of inflation, fear of interest rates going up. So the fact that they did it now is pretty amazing. And they did it in Canada. So I think that also speaks to multiple things, in that I think in the US it would be harder because the other thing you have to remember is the Big Four accounting firms are closely tied to governments a lot of the time and heavily regulated. For example, in the UK, we see it every day, something about KPMG. So if they step away from the fiat currency of the country they're in, then they better have a good reason, or it better be a good regulatory environment. Like there's various Latin American countries that are very favorable towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So that could also be a potential for the future. But countries like the US, I think it's a bigger risk to their reputation and also just governmental regulation, because they're already facing so much governmental regulation about their ability to audit, fraud, etc., that stepping into Bitcoin in a country like the US or the UK, I think it just gives them too much exposure. It might prevent them from winning government work. So, but we'll just have to see. I mean, there's other companies, public companies, that are holding Bitcoin. Like Tesla is one of the biggest ones. And, Tesla changes whether they're going to hold Bitcoin or not all the time, depending on Elon Musk's attitude or his emotions. But there's companies out there. So I think this is a great step in my view, because I think blockchain and Bitcoin and all these non-centralized technologies are humongous for the future. And for the Big Four accounting firms to finally dive into this space, it gives it way more legitimacy. There's more to come. We already knew that KPMG was doing big things in this space because we spoke to a person high up there that was doing a lot of consulting in this space. So we know that KPMG is highly invested. This just proves it even more. Now it's up to the other Big Four accounting firms, whether they want to be left in the dust. This is also big. Like the Big Four accounting firms make so much money in financial services globally, and this is part of financial services. So whichever one invests first is going to make a lot of money. Not necessarily investing in it, but like investing in their services and, like they said, capabilities. They're just going to establish legitimacy, and that's the Big Four accounting firms, is your technical know-how. That's how you win work. The more technical know-how, knowledge, and confidence they display in this area, I think the more work they're going to win, especially in Canada now. I think this helps KPMG out, and we'll see which other firms follow suit. Big Four accounting firms typically follow each other, so we'll just have to wait and see which other firms follow suit, how many KPMG locations are going to do this. It's going to be very interesting, and I think it's a bold move and a good move. But we'll keep an eye on this and keep an eye on the other firms, whether they're going to buy cryptocurrencies or invest in it and offer additional services. But that's the podcast for today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast to get future updates and check out the show notes for useful links.